Yeah, I want to do my tier list. I'm going to start off probably with the DPS. And we're going to put Sojourn in S tier, as like we said before, because we're going to do it by roll. Sojourn is the best DPS in the game. If you are playing to win, you most likely should be playing Sojourn. This is why I went Sojourn last game, even though we lost. And then we'll just go by an order that's on here. So we'll say Bastion. I would say Bastion is a solid A tier character. Even after his nerfs, Bastion is still pretty oppressive to play against. The only reason why he's probably not higher is because D.Va exists, and D.Va hard counters Bastion. Sigma's pretty good too. Let's see. Cassidy, also A tier. Second best hit scan in the game. Silver Bullet, crazy for range. And can counter a lot of the annoying flex DPS. He's a pretty high ban rate this season because no flex DPS can figure out how to wait out a 12-second cooldown. Then Genji, S tier. Genji and Tracer probably tied for the second best DPS in the game to play with Sojourn. Hanzo, I would say is B tier. One shot's good, projectile size is good at landing one shots, easily diveable. Solid pick though, if you can land your shots. Junkrat's F tier. If you're playing Junkrat, you're throwing. Actually, Junkrat's probably D tier. He's not that throwing, but ready to throw. Mei is probably a B tier. Mei is very map situational. But into the right comp and into on the right maps, Mei is a pretty solid pick, pretty annoying to play against. If you can land your icicles, pretty good. Pharah, I would also put in D tier unless you have a mercy pocket. Pharah is easily looked at, especially with the new hit scan being added. Emery easily shot down. A lot longer ranges you can shoot at Pharah when she's higher in the air and farther away. But her new perk is pretty good. But by yourself, Pharah is pretty hard to play unless you're like really good at Pharah. Reaper, I would say, is A tier. Solid with the Zarya. Has good burst. Yeah, just solid character. Shotguns, burst, Zarya, run at the team, blow them up. Pretty good, especially when he gets perks. Soldier is definitely the worst hit scan in the game. He's a C tier. He's solid, but he's not like great. Like you play Soldier if like you need a hit scan that has mobility and Sojourn's banned. But like there's no reason to play Soldier if Sojourn's available. Symmetra. Sim is like A or B depending on like the situation in the map, but we'll just say B in general because Sim is just like really map specific and like really comp specific, but if you can run it down on Symmetric, you like hard carry the game. So yeah. Torb I think is sleeper. Torb is an A tier pick. You can put him in S tier pick, but he's a really sleeper pick. Considering dive is really good because of like the initiator passive, and like Winston's pretty good, and Tracer is good, and Genji is good. Like Torbjorn literally just marks enemy flex for free. And since every single amount of damage in the game does 30% passive, Torb's turret just gives 30% passive to anything that comes on line of sight. And Torb himself just does a lot of damage. So pretty good solid sleeper pick, I would say. Tracer is the other S tier DPS character along with Genji. This is like the trio of DPS you want to be playing probably. Tracer has lots of free passive value by marking off angles. It's annoying to deal with. Good movement, good mobility, increase your projectile size. Her perks are pretty good, so overall solid. Widow, I would put Widow in C tier if she's ever played on her maps, but since she's always banned on Widow maps, D tier. There's never going to be a chance you can play Widowmaker on a map that gives her the long enough range sights to get value on without her being banned, because no one likes playing against that character. So yeah, D tier for sure. Sombra is probably the worst DPS in the game, at least I would say. Like, there's no reason to play Sombra over any other flex DPS in the game. Does not do enough damage, in my opinion. The only reason you'd play Sombra is to play against the ball. If you're not playing against the ball and you're playing Sombra, and you're not doing everything in the most in the game, you are just trolling. Ashe, I would say, is high B tier, maybe A minus tier, but high B tier. Ashe just has enough range to be able to get kills. That's Cassidy can't until he gets his Quicksilver perk. So Ashe has the range advantage in 2 taps. If the Mercy Pocket, you could probably argue put Nest here, but Ashe just does damage and has no mobility really besides Coach Gun. Bob is a good ultimate, but like the util that Cass provides and the amount of survivability as a hit scan has later with the same amount of range is better. So Ashe is solid B tier, in my opinion. And Emery is what the other one I was talking about. Emery, I'd say, is A tier. Emery is just a good all-arounder hit scan. Like, has enough damage to challenge at long enough ranges, especially with his range being as good as Ashe's. His grenades are really good. He has high survivability with his pistol and good movement with his pistol, and his ultimate's really, really good, especially comboed with other ones. Really, really fun character, really solid character. I would say probably one of the most balanced characters in the game. You might want to nerf him like a little bit, but I'd say probably the most balanced hit scan that we have. Let's see. Did I miss a DPS anywhere? Venture is strange. Like, Venture, I quite don't know where to put Venture myself. I would say Venture is probably a B tier character just because since Mizuki got added and Cass exists, Venture can get easily CC'd and bursted. But if you ban Cassidy and you don't have a Mizuki player on your team, Venture kind of just runs the lobby. So it's like a 50-50 if Venture does everything or does nothing. And that depends on like how easily they're countered and how easily or what characters enemy team picks. But it's 50-50. Freya, I would also put Freya in B tier. I wouldn't say Freya is amazing, but Freya is still very annoying to play against. You could even argue putting her in A tier, so I might like put her like a high B tier. But Freya is like, if you land your bolts on Freya, she's extremely annoying to play against, and I don't like playing against her at all. And she's not bad by any mean. It's just like she kind of just does the same role that Hanzo does, except Hanzo one shots and Freya spams. Vendetta is banned almost every single game. Vendetta is also probably like actually the trio that you would swap out here if you're running Zarya specifically. If you're not running Zarya, you would not be playing Vendetta, you'd be playing these two. But Zarya Vendetta kind of rolls lobbies, which is why you see Vendetta and Zarya being banned as much as they are. Just has armor, high mobility, it's high burst damage, really annoying to play against, not fun to play against whatsoever. Again, high ban rate for a reason. And then the final DPS, I think, is Onron. And Onron, I would say, is probably the lowest in the B tier. Onron is definitely like not a great flex DPS. Echo, oh thank you, I forgot Echo. But she can get lots of passive value. Gorgon Array, thank you for the tier 2. Like Onron probably gets as much passive value as Tracer. It's just that Tracer lives longer, so there's no reason to play Onron over Tracer. Onron, but because like Onron, if you're getting looked at whatsoever, you have to get out or else you'll die. That's why you see Onron's players have like a really high death rate. But also the burn is very distracting for a lot of players and it's very annoying to deal with. So it's like character has lots of good passive value. Not a lot of burst damage, but a lot of mobility and survivability, despite like her dying a lot. And I think that's because players overcommit when they get looked at. But I feel like good Onron players know how to carry the game, but I feel like Onron in general is like on the weaker side. But I would say like I wouldn't really buff Onron's damage unless you nerf some of her survivability, because you buff any of her damage, then she probably will be up here. So hard character to balance because of the burn. And then the last DPS I think is Echo, and Echo is probably high A tier, probably the highest on the A tier if you're good at Echo. Echo is a high skill ceiling character. So it's like if you're really good at Echo, you kind of just hard carry games. But if you've never touched Echo before, you'd like put her like all the way down here. So like your average Echo player won't be very good to the point where they can carry and won't be super annoying. So you put them down here. But like you play against a really good Echo player, probably one of the most annoying characters to deal with in the game. So I'd put her high A tier. And if we're going to mix these around, I would like the way I would rank them from best to worst. I would say this is fine. Probably this. No. This. And then let's see. Fine. There we go. There we go. Yep. So this is like the ranking I would give from best to worst and all the DPS. So next up, we're going to go ahead and do tanks. D.Va is unironically the best tank in the game. You could honestly put them up here with like Sojourn and Kiriko tier, but definitely up there. And for sure the best tank in the game. And the character just has so much mobility and so much burst damage, especially with their perks. DM lasts as long as it does, especially with all the characters that D.Va gets a lot of value out of eating their stuff from, like Tracer, and then all the hit scans that are really good, like Cass, Emery, Hanzo, Ashe, Freya, Bastion. Like D.Va just gets so much value out of eating all that Sojourn. So DM lasting as long as it does, how much damage she does to burst down the annoying DPS just leaves D.Va as the best tank in the game currently. Zarya is the second best tank in the game, and I would probably put her right there. Oh, actually, maybe Tracer's up here. Oh, there we go. That's like the correct ranking. And that is because Zarya bubbles her, or this guy, and they just run in and do whatever they want. And she has 2 bubbles. She gets high charge. These 2 do whatever they want. Free low. It's super annoying, not fun to play against. That's why these 2 have the highest ban rate of all the tanks, besides maybe Domina, because they're just not fun to play against. Reinhardt, I'd put like mid B tier. Reinhardt, unironically, if you play him like a ball or play him like a dive tank, kind of ish. I don't, maybe like dive tank is like bad wording, but you play him super aggressive like you would like a derpy playstyle. You get a lot of value, get a lot of passive value, and he does a lot of damage. But like, you play any character that counters him, like this guy, he does nothing. So runs like a 50-50. I'd say he's not very fun to play against, and he can be pretty oppressive, but if you play the right characters to counter him, he doesn't really do very much. Roadhog, I'm interested because I would have put him in like C tier before his buff, but his buff makes it so he can pretty much one-shot a Bastion. So I would also probably put him the same as Reinhardt. And also the Bruiser passive got a buff, so he'd be zooming around at half HP. My prediction is he'll be B tier now. He'll be extremely annoying to play against, and if Ana is banned, you might even bump him up to like S tier because he just can't be countered, and a good Roadhog player will run the lobby. But I would, in a normal circumstance, I would put him in B tier. Winston is pretty solid. I would put Winston in the high A tier. If he was banned, Winston's really good. And because of the new initiator passive, he kind of heals himself quite a bit, especially with his healing bubble. And since, you know, he cleaves pretty well with his Tesla cannon, and DPS passive is global now, he kind of can burst things down or kill things that are getting trickle healed now, finally. So Winston's high A tier. I would put Orisa in probably like mid A tier, like maybe around here. Like the only reason I wouldn't put her higher is because these 2 kind of fuck D.Va, or kind of fuck Orisa up. So because the 2 best tanks in the game fuck Orisa up, she's not really higher, but probably the best brawlish tank in the game. Besides maybe Ram, but Orisa counters Ram, so that's like up for debate. I would, and like I was going to say, like I'd probably put Ram and Orisa at the same level. Ram might be a little bit better because you can play Ram in more situations that Orisa can't be played in. Like Ramatra, you can play Ram into Diva, you can play Ram into Sigma, you can play Ram into Reinhardt, whereas an Orisa kind of just like bullies Hog and Ryan, but like also Junker Queen. So like Orisa's like the bully tank, but it's like since Ram can punish your shields and like the shield tanks probably have more value, Ram is better. And then Sigma, I would say, is tied with Ram. Like these two are like tied tank and A tier because Ram counters Sig, but Sig counters Orisa, and Sigma is good against Diva. Kind of if you know how to use his rock, but like I don't know. It's a weird like triangle. Like you gotta have a good Sigma and have Sigma played on the correct maps against the tanks to be able to do what he wants to do, but he has a lot of carry potential. And then like Ramatra is just like an overall good tank against things that are like what Ram plays well into. So it's like 50-50. And then Doomfist. Good Doom players, you could probably put this character up here. But since Doomfist average Doom player, you're not like Cardi fan or nothing, probably put him in a solid B tier. Again, adding another hard CC in the game like Mizuki makes dive tanks like Doom and Ball's jobs a lot harder to do. But you're good enough with the characters, you'll get so much value regardless in terms of passive value and DPS potential. So it's just like they'll never be bad. Like they'll never ever be bad unless they hard gut the characters. Like they make Doom's abilities like 20 seconds long. The Doom will never be bad. And same thing with Ball. Like I would put them probably in like high B tier. These two characters, especially with their perks giving them extra survivability, makes them have unlimited amounts of carry potential. But at the same time, they're also easily countered if they play bad. So really, really good in the right hands, really, really bad in the wrong hands. Junker Queen is definitely bottom 3 tanks. Like there's so many things in the game that are so good that counter Junker Queen. Like Sojourn just melts half of JQ's HP. Kiriko exists. Like Diva you really can't do much on JQ against Diva. Zarya bubbles and Zarya in general just delete Junker Queen. Like, and then like, you know, you really can't ult Tracer if she has recall. And Genji has deflex, so if you knife a Genji and he uses deflex, you can't really do anything to him. And then Vendetta just melts Junker Queen if you can't land shots. And these two hits can just deny Junker Queen's existence. I don't know. There's just so many things that just deny Junker Queen's existence that you have to be really, really good at the character to get value out of. And for that reason, Junker Queen's one of the worst tanks in the game. And Maga's in the same boat for the same exact reason. Like, Maga is just worse Roadhog. If there's an Ana and you just get deleted. Like, you're just a big chud just getting shot at. Hazard I would have put in D tier, but he got the initiator passive, so he survives a little bit longer now. So I put him in C tier. Like Hazard's one of those weird tanks that requires a lot of skill to play, but at the same time is pretty easily countered and if you play the right comp into him. But he's also kind of hard to play with because he doesn't dive hard enough to play dive with, but he also doesn't brawl to play brawl with. So I don't know. He's a weird character to play with, and you kind of just have to kind of bounce off your Hazard to hope he gets value. If he doesn't get any value, your team suffers. But in the right hands, he's really good. He's like worse Ball than Doom. And then that is all. Domina. Domina is probably the most banned tank in the game, and I would probably put her in S- here because I feel like people just haven't figured out how to play against Domina quite yet. So she feels super oppressive and she does a lot of damage, but I feel like eventually she'll probably move down to the A tier. I feel like in certain situations against certain tanks, Domina is probably worse than Sig, but in on other situations, she's probably better than Sig. So it's just like it's weird. Sojourn's orb also just fries her shield, and Zarya existing just fries her because Domina cannot really do anything against Zarya after her shield's put down. So like she puts her shield down, Zarya gets charged, Sojourn melts her shield, you just shoot through the fucking little squares that are melted, and then you just melt Domina. So yeah. And then we're going to move on to the supports. Lucio is the second best support in the game. Probably put him like right here. Like speed is like one of the best utilities in the game. You play faster and you win, and especially in a comp where playing fast is, or playing in a meta where playing fast as possible is the best way to play with Tracer, Sojourn, and then Diva, and then you have Zarya and Vendetta playing fast or whatever. Playing fast is the way to win. So Lucio is just always going to be good on any map ever. Mercy is weird. Like, if you're solo queuing as Mercy, the character is probably D tier. But, like, if you're pocketing a duo and the duo is good, character probably goes into B tier. But we're going based off of solo queue ranked, which is probably she's D tier. Even though damage boost is a really, really, really good util for fucking hit scans and shit like that, the character by herself, if you don't have synergy with your team, is pretty terrible. So, yeah, even with the medic being passive being buffed and she survives a lot longer, she just doesn't heal enough to be able to provide the damage or the value that she needs to, unless she's damage boosting someone that is carrying. Zen is C tier. Discord orbs are really good util piece, but the healing that Zen does is not enough to justify using him unless you're playing against a tank or a comp that is very, very hurt by Discord. So he's very situational, and a good Zen can carry, but I wouldn't really pick him over any other of the poke supports necessarily. I think Ana has been in one of the worst states she's ever been. Like, the only reason you'd play Ana ever is to counter a tank that's hard countered by Ana. In most chances or most cases, if the tank is a one-trick character or one-trick player that plays a hard tank or a tank hard countered by Ana, they're going to ban Ana. Like, if you have a hard one-trick Maga, hard one-trick Roadhog, they're going to ban Ana. So, I don't know. The character doesn't provide enough healing or enough damage to justify using them over Kiriko in any sense or sort of way. And Kiriko counters on it. So, fun character, not in a good spot. Moira, also C tier. No util, heals and damage, trickle healing. Not that great. I wouldn't play her. Honestly, same with Brig, to be honest. Since Mizuki's added, Mizuki can just has consistent stun. So Mizuki kind of just is better Brig at the moment. And then like Brig Juno is a good combination of things to play together. But since Juno is in a decent spot, but Juno is not in like a meta spot, Brig is kind of like something left to be desired, because like Mizuki can play fast with Juno and stun, whereas in Brig can't really play as fast. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like Brig right now is just kind of obsolete. And then Baptiste is in B tier. Solid healing, solid damage. Overall, all-arounder, good support if you are not playing Dive. But since Dive is meta, Bap is kind of hard to play unless you're playing on a map that is not Dive focused. But when you are playing in a map that's not Dive focused, especially playing with Orisa, Bap is really good. Bap is also really good with Reinhardt. Bap is really good with Ramatra. Bap is good with Sig. So Bap is overall solid. And the best character in the entire game, the poster child of Overwatch, Kiriko. I don't need to explain why. Kiriko is Kiriko. And then Lifeweaver is an F tier. Lifeweaver is ass. Lifeweaver does the whole... It's kind of like the opposite of Moira, where it's just healing and util, but no damage. Because like you don't heal enough on Lifeweaver to have a chance to do damage. And even though Lifeweaver's util is good, it's like you have to play perfect. And if you don't play perfect, you're tossing. And his ultimate's eh. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't see ever reason to ever play Lifeweaver, unfortunately, because I think he's pretty fun. Alari, after she got gutted, I would say is B tier. And I would say like I would say like above Onron and Venture, but like I wouldn't put her above these. If you can aim on Alari, you can carry games, but Alari kind of got gutted, and I don't know. Very situational. Like, I would play her if you're playing a poke comp, but I would also play Wu Yang over her in a poke comp, to be honest. Like, you'd play like Kiri. Kiri Wu Yang is like the best poke-ish thing to play. So yeah, because Kiriko is just Kiriko. And then Juno, I would put like A- here because Juno has the very good value of speed like Lucio does, but Juno is I don't know how to say it. Like, I would say more frail, but Lucio just somehow gets more value having constant speed over Juno having an ability that's just speed. But she's a very solid pick though. Like, I would say like playing Juno is probably the next best option over Lucio and Kiriko. But that's just me. And then like Wu Yang is pretty solid. I would say he's top of the B tier. You could play fast with him with Kiriko. You could play fast with him with Juno. Like, these are really good together. They're really good together. Lucio Wu Yang is not good though, because they're not on the feeling, but does a lot of damage, and his ultimate is really good setting up with any of the dive characters that are really good right now, like Genji, Vendetta, Tracer, Eva. So, not a bad character. And here's the cat. The fuck ass cat. The cat is probably I'd say like bottom of the A tier. And this is like a prediction too, because the cat was a lot better when it had lethality and had damage. But since the cat doesn't really do as much damage since they changed the perks, I don't really know where the cat's going to fit in terms of like how good it's going to be. It still has the unique utility of being able to transport teammates and setting up for things like that, and also ult comboing with an ability, which is extremely annoying. Having the value of transporting people as fast like that as the cat can is a util that only it carries. And it's pretty valuable. Repositioning tank for a setup for an ultimate, or just in general playing a high ground that the team can't get to, like placing Sigma on high grounds he can't normally get to. Or just anything like that is pretty invaluable. So it's a prediction. I think it's going to be A- tier. It's still going to be annoying to play against, especially since you can still transport ultimates. I wouldn't say it's going to be meta though, because if you can aim, you could shoot the cat down, and the cat's pretty mid. But the transport util is just invaluable for certain situations. And then Mizuki, my new favorite character they've added, I would say is probably in the lower side of the B tier. I love Mizuki. He's so much fun. He gets a lot of value with his chain. His chain is really, really good. But if you're not playing into a team that chaining really matters, then you're kind of should just play something else. Like, you're playing into a Lucio that keeps inting, go Mizuki. Playing into a ball, go Mizuki. Playing into a Doom, play Mizuki. Playing into a Hazard, play Mizuki. Anything that's just like ints real hard and you can stun and hard lock, really good. Or if cast is banned and they're like going venture or whatever, you can chain them. Mizuki is a solid pick. But Mizuki is weird to aim with, and he doesn't do enough healing to where, like, he doesn't do burst healing. He doesn't do like the burst healing needed to sustain teams. And his ultimate is kind of okay. Like, his ultimate's good, but it's not like great. Like, you have to use his ult a certain way to get value out of it, like denying things. Otherwise, his ult's pretty useless. So, like, if you're not using Mizuki ult to deny, like, Emery ult, or denying High Noon, or denying, like, Kiriko rush with Bastion in it, because Bastion's slow, he won't really go past your ultimate, then Mizuki's ult, you kind of would use it for sustain, but it's not good enough to sustain with. So, yeah. Mid character, but fun character. And yeah, that is my tier list for the mid-season patch. These two are the best characters in the game. These are the meta characters, probably. Domina's still up for grabs for A or S tier. But these 6 are definitely the meta characters. And then these characters are not solid, but they're really good. And they are a lot more viable than most characters. It's like if you can't play any of these characters because you're banned, then you would pick one of these. And then these characters are the middle ground characters of like, you can play them, but they're not going to be viable on certain maps or certain situations. These characters are niche, and you'll need to be really good at them to carry them, or you'll use them in very, very specific situations, like using Ana against Hog or Maga. These characters suck unless you one-trick them and are god at them. Don't play these characters at all. And yeah, that's my tier list.